Hey guys, tonight we're talking about the flip side of the medieval coin. Not the glorious knights and brave heroes, but the people who had the worst jobs in history. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. What's a job that sounds like a peaceful, respectable profession, but was actually a dirty, dangerous, and utterly disgusting nightmare? Get ready to travel back to the Middle Ages, where we'll pull back the curtain on the jobs that truly sucked. The gong farmer. A title so deliberately gentle, so utterly misleading, you can't help but admire the sheer, unadulterated medieval spin doctoring. It sounds like a man who works with beautiful, resonant gongs, perhaps composing melodies for the king's court or leading a peaceful Buddhist procession. The reality, however, was about as far from peace and harmony as you could get. Your job, should you choose to accept this delightful career path, was to plunge into the very bowels of medieval society. Literally. You see, a gong was the polite term for a latrine, and a gong farmer was the poor soul tasked with emptying the cesspits and privies of the city. It was a job so vile, so steeped in the very essence of human effluence, that you were legally obligated to work only at night. This wasn't for privacy. It was so your fellow citizens wouldn't have to suffer the sight and, more importantly, the smell of you and your pungent, foul-smelling cargo. You'd be working under the cloak of darkness, a silent, stinky shadow moving through the cobbled streets, your only companions the rats and the occasional drunkard who'd mistake you for a particularly unpleasant-smelling ghost. The tools of your trade were simple: a shovel and a bucket. A very, very large bucket. Your task was to descend into the deep, dark, and unimaginably disgusting pits beneath the outhouses, where centuries of humanity's finest contributions had been quietly accumulating. You would scoop and shovel, your every movement a testament to a complete and utter lack of career options. The smell, of course, would become a permanent part of your being. It was a scent that announced your presence long before you arrived, and lingered long after you left, like a particularly stubborn and unwelcome relative. Clung to your clothes, your hair, your very soul. You could scrub with all the lye soap in the world, but you would never truly be clean. And the social life? Well, let's just say you weren't exactly invited to the hottest medieval dinner parties. You were a walking social pariah, a living testament to the worst a city had to offer. People would cross the street to avoid you, not out of fear, but out of a purely visceral, gag-inducing revulsion. You were an essential service, a vital cog in the machine of urban living, but you were also a dirty little secret everyone pretended didn't exist. Your title was a lie, your work was a nightmare, and your life was a pungent reminder that some jobs just aren't meant for human beings. So, the next time you hear a medieval bard singing of brave knights and fair maidens, spare a thought for the brave, odoriferous, and entirely unsung hero of the era, the gong farmer. He may not have slain a dragon, but he did face a far more horrifying beast every single night. Step into the bustling, odorous world of the medieval fuller. A job title that sounds rather grand, doesn't it? Perhaps a fellow who spends his days in a field of sunflowers, picking the most perfect blossoms? Or maybe he's a professional musician, strumming a lute for the royal family? Alas, no. A fuller was a laundress of the highest and most disgusting order, and their primary cleaning agent was a substance so foul, so pungent, that even a jester would struggle to make a joke about it. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, was to clean and thicken newly woven woolen cloth. How did you accomplish this monumental task? With your feet, a large vat of water, and a liberal application of stale urine. Yes, you heard that correctly. The medieval version of Tide Pods was a communal collection of human waste, and you, my friend, were the person who got to play in it. Your workday would begin with a cheerful walk to the town's public urinal, or more likely, with a wagon full of collected pots from local households. This pungent liquid, known in polite circles as lant, was a highly prized commodity. Its ammonia content was a secret weapon against grease and dirt, but the price for its cleaning power was a smell that would curdle milk at 20 paces. You'd pour this golden elixir into a large, communal vat, toss in a big bolt of newly woven wool, and then, with a deep breath and a prayer to whatever God would listen, you would climb in. Your job was to stomp. You would stomp and stomp and stomp, a rhythmic, squelching dance of filth and fabric, for hours on end. The ammonia would burn your skin, the smell would sear your nostrils, and the sheer, mind-numbing repetition of the task would make you question every life choice you'd ever made, right down to the one that landed you in a vat of pee. The social implications? Let's just say a fuller's place at the dinner table was usually a table of one. You were a walking, talking cloud of odor, a person so permanently infused with the stench of urine that even the rats would give you a wide berth. People would avoid you on the street, not out of malice, but because your very existence was a sensory assault. You were a necessary evil, a vital part of the textile industry, but you were also a living, breathing advertisement for the least glamorous job in all of history. So, while the knights were out jousting and the kings were feasting, you, the humble fuller, were in a vat of stale pee, stomping your way to a life of perpetual stench. And you thought your job was bad. Let's talk about the executioner's assistant, a job title that sounds like it belongs on a corporate business card from Hell's HR department. You're not the main man, the star of the show with the big, shiny axe and the cool hood. No, you're the guy who stands just out of the spotlight, the human equivalent of a janitor in a slaughterhouse. While the executioner gets to enjoy the grim glory of the final act, you're left with the truly unpleasant part, the cleanup. It's like being the roadie for a heavy metal band, only the gear is a mangled corpse, and the tour bus is a rickety wooden cart you have to pull through the mud. Your work begins where the drama ends. As the crowd disperses, whispering tales of justice or mercy, you're there, standing over the remains of the day. The body, which moments ago was a subject of intense public fascination, is now just a gruesome mess. Your job is to collect the pieces, and it's a job that requires a certain detachment. You're the one who has to shovel the dirt, load the cart, and haul it away to the gallows tree or the potter's field, a place so unhallowed that even the crows think twice about landing there. You get all the gore, all the stench, all the grim, visceral reality of the job, with none of the ceremonial pomp and circumstance of the main event. And then there's the social aspect, which is to say, there is no social aspect. If the executioner was feared and shunned, you were a ghost. People would pretend you weren't there, or if they did acknowledge you, it was with a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. You were a human stain, a walking reminder of the most brutal aspects of medieval law. You lived in isolation, your only companions your thoughts and the permanent smell of rust and decay that clung to you like a second skin. So, while the crowd saw the executioner as a symbol of power, you were just the poor schmuck who had to clean up after him. A life of quiet, stinky desperation, all for the dubious honor of being the worst kind of assistant imaginable. The barber surgeon, a job title so wonderfully, terrifyingly multifaceted it sounds like a particularly brutal superhero team-up. On one hand, you have the respectable, clean-cut barber, a man who wields scissors with precision and knows a thing or two about a good lather. On the other, you have the surgeon, a title that, in the Middle Ages, meant something closer to guy who has a sharp knife and a complete lack of medical training. You, the barber surgeon, are both a kind of medieval Swiss army knife for all things involving a sharp object and the human body. Your shop is a place of duality. On one side, a cleanish chair where you'll trim a beard or give a jaunty bowl cut. On the other, a table of rusty-looking instruments that you wouldn't use to fix a broken chair, let alone a broken bone. A customer walks in, perhaps needing a quick trim, but they also have a toothache that's been bothering them. And because you're a one-stop shop for all bodily calamities, you'll happily oblige both. With a pair of pliers that look like they've seen more action in a torture chamber than a dentist's office, you'll yank out that tooth with the same casual expertise you'd use to trim a mustache. Your medical knowledge is, shall we say, a bit experimental. You believe in the four humors, the idea that a person's health is determined by the balance of blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. So, when a patient comes in with a fever, your first instinct isn't to prescribe medicine or rest. No, your first instinct is to balance the humors by draining a pint or two of their blood. You are, in essence, a professional bloodletter, a human sieve for the body's precious fluids. Your surgical procedures are often performed without anesthesia, so your patient's screams become the soundtrack to your workday, a kind of grim background music to the snip, snip, snip of your scissors. A job so uniquely terrifying, it's a wonder anyone ever survived a haircut, let alone a leg amputation. The leech collector, a job title that sounds like it was invented by a medieval prankster with a particularly sadistic sense of humor. You are not a brave knight, a wise priest, or a jovial baker. You are a human fishing lure, a living, breathing bait for the bloodthirsty little creatures that inhabit the murky waters of the local swamp. Your job is to go into these festering, mucky places and, with a grim determination, attract leeches to your own body. It's a career path that requires a certain level of self-loathing, a willingness to be bitten, and an unwavering belief that your suffering will be rewarded with a few pennies. Your workday is a ritual of pain. You wade into a swamp, the foul-smelling water sloshing around your knees, and stand perfectly still. You are a statue of misery, waiting for the tiny, slimy vampires to latch onto your legs. You can feel them, a cold, squishy sensation as they attach themselves and begin to feed. You are their buffet, their all-you-can-eat feast, and there's nothing you can do but stand there and take it. Once your legs are covered in these bloated, pulsating parasites, you have to carefully remove them, one by one, and place them into a special waterlogged sack. It's a grotesque harvest, a bounty of blood-sucking horrors that you will then sell to the local barber surgeon for a pittance. And the risks? Oh, the risks are plentiful. The leech bites themselves could lead to infections, and the swamp water you're standing in is a cesspool of disease and filth. You could get anything from a nasty rash to a life-threatening illness, all for the sake of gathering a handful of slimy worms. Your life is a constant battle against infection, and your body is a roadmap of bite marks and scars. You are the ultimate unsung hero of medieval medicine, a person who literally gives their blood for the good of the community. You are the leech collector, a job so terrible, so utterly cringeworthy, that it makes being a gong farmer look like a day at the spa. The rat catcher, a job title that sounds more like a hobby for a particularly morbid child. You're not a knight, not a king, not even a peasant with a respectable job like farming. You are a professional exterminator, a person whose sole purpose in life is to wage a never-ending war against the scuttling, disease-ridden rodent population of a medieval city. It's a job that comes with a certain aroma, a certain reputation, and a very real risk of catching something far worse than a cold. Your workday begins with a trip into the filthiest parts of town. The sewers, the garbage heaps, the back alleys, and the kitchens of the most unhygienic inns. You are a master of your craft, a connoisseur of grime, and a connoisseur of the squeaks and scuffles that signal a new nest of vermin. Your tools are simple: a pack of mangy, flea-bitten dogs, a sturdy stick, and a bag to hold your catch. You're not just a hunter, you're a warrior, and your battlefield is the underbelly of civilization. You spend your days in a constant state of combat, a blur of fur, teeth, and angry squeals, all for the noble cause of keeping the plague at bay. And for your efforts, you are rewarded with a pittance and the enduring respect of precisely no one. And the risks? Oh, the risks are plentiful. You're constantly exposed to disease, as rats are a walking, scurrying petri dish of pestilence. A single bite could give you a nasty infection, and a flea from a rat could be the start of a citywide epidemic. You're a hero, a public health official in a world that doesn't understand public health, but you are also a walking time bomb of potential contagion. Your job is a thankless, dirty, and dangerous one. A life lived in the shadows and the sewers, all for the sake of keeping a few more people from dying a horrible death. You are the rat catcher, a person whose life's work is a testament to the fact that some jobs are just plain awful, no matter how you look at it. The gong farmer's apprentice. You thought being a gong farmer was bad? Oh, my sweet summer child, you have no idea. The gong farmer himself is, in a way, a master of his craft, a veteran of the filth, a seasoned pro. You, the apprentice, are the new guy, the grunt, the person who gets to do the worst part of the worst job. It's like being an intern at a particularly odorous and miserable company, where the only thing you learn is the true meaning of despair. Your life is a constant state of dread, a countdown to the moment your master points at the gaping maw of the cesspit and says, "Right, lad, in you go." You are the human bucket, the living scoop, the person who is lowered into the depths of a castle's collective memories. You're attached to a rope, a basket at your feet, and with a creak and a groan, you begin your descent into the dark, a place where no sunlight has ever touched and where the air is a thick, choking cloud of pure, concentrated stench. Your job is to fill the basket. Simple, right? Except you're doing it by hand, and you're doing it while being drenched in a substance that no person should ever have to touch, let alone be covered in. The basket is heavy, the air is thin, and the smell is so potent it feels like it's trying to physically crawl into your nose and set up a permanent residence. And as you're being hauled back up, dripping and covered in the evidence of your terrible career choice, your master is there, probably making a joke about how you've finally found your true calling. You're not just an apprentice. You're a human sacrifice, a person who traded their dignity for a few scraps of bread and the unwavering promise of a lifetime of social ostracism. You are the gong farmer's apprentice, and your job, quite literally, is the pits. The scavenger. In the grand tapestry of medieval society, you are not a thread of gold or silk. You are the dusty lint, the forgotten scrap, the thing that gets picked up and discarded. Your job title, scavenger, sounds like a noble pursuit, doesn't it? A person who bravely scavenges for resources in a world of scarcity. The reality, however, is far less heroic. You are a professional dumpster diver, a master of refuse, and a person who spends their days sifting through the foul-smelling garbage heaps of a medieval city, all for the hope of finding a single valuable item. Your workday is a ritual of filth. Armed with a stick and a sack, you walk the streets, not on the clean cobblestones, but in the muddy, manure-filled gutters where the city's refuse has been unceremoniously dumped. You are a connoisseur of trash, a person who can tell the difference between a discarded piece of food and a scrap of valuable metal just by the smell. Your hands, stained and calloused, are perpetually in a state of grime, a constant reminder of your terrible career choice. You are a ghost, a person who exists on the fringes of society, a shadowy figure who appears at dawn and disappears at dusk. Your only legacy, the small pile of junk you've managed to collect. And the social life? Let's just say a scavenger's party invitations were few and far between. You were a walking, talking public health hazard, a person so covered in the refuse of the city that people would cross the street to avoid you. You were a living, breathing testament to the poverty and desperation of the era, and your very existence was a reminder that some people were so low on the social ladder that their only option was to literally dig through garbage for a living. You are the scavenger, a person whose life's work is a testament to the fact that one man's trash is another man's slightly less useful trash. The tunneler, a job title that sounds almost like a respectable engineering position. You're a tunneler. You must be building bridges or aqueducts or some other magnificent feat of Roman-level engineering. In the medieval era, however, your job was a bit more explosive. You were an engineering genius, yes, but your genius was used for a singular, terrifying purpose: to dig tunnels under the walls of a fortified castle and then collapse them. You were a walking, digging weapon, a person whose entire career was dedicated to undermining and destruction. Your workday was a constant struggle against claustrophobia, bad air, and the ever-present fear of being crushed to death. You and your team would dig a narrow, low tunnel just big enough to crawl through under the castle walls. It was dark, it was damp, and it was filled with the sounds of your own frantic breathing and the scraping of your tools against the earth. You were a human mole, a person who lived in a world of dirt and danger, a world where the slightest miscalculation could turn your tomb in the making into a very permanent tomb. And the grand finale? Once the tunnel was dug, you would fill it with wooden props and set them on fire. As the wood burned, the tunnel would collapse, and with it, the section of the castle wall above you. It was a risky, terrifying, and often deadly job. You could be crushed by the collapsing tunnel, killed by the collapsing wall, or, if the enemy discovered you, you could be killed by them, a far more unpleasant fate. You were a soldier, but your battlefield was a claustrophobic tunnel, and your enemy was not a sword-wielding knight, but the very earth itself. You are the tunneler, a person who traded a life in the sun for a life in the dark, all for the noble cause of helping one king kill another king. A truly heroic and entirely terrifying career. The tanner. A job title that sounds rather rustic and charming, doesn't it? Perhaps a kindly old man working with beautiful, supple leather in a cozy workshop. The reality, however, was about as charming as a cesspit full of dead rats. The tanner's job was to take a raw animal hide, a slimy, hairy, and very pungent piece of death, and turn it into a durable, usable piece of leather. And the secret ingredient in this magical transformation? Well, that would be a delightful mixture of animal brains, urine, and feces. It's a job so foul, so steeped in the very essence of decay, that even the most hardened gong farmer would probably hold his nose. Your workshop was a place of perpetual stench, a kind of medieval air freshener that smelled of death and bodily functions. You would start by soaking the hides in a vat of lime and water to remove the hair. Then came the real fun. The hides were then soaked in a vat of baits, a delightful concoction of fermented animal dung and urine. This process, a kind of pre-softening, was the key to making the leather pliable. And you, the tanner, would be there, up to your elbows in this foul-smelling liquid, a true connoisseur of filth. Your hands, your clothes, your very hair would be permanently infused with the smell, a pungent perfume that announced your presence long before you arrived. Because of the absolutely gag-inducing smell, tanners were often forced to live and work in a separate part of town, away from the rest of the respectable population. You were an essential service, a vital cog in the machine of medieval life, but you were also a social pariah, a person whose very existence was a constant reminder of the gross and unmentionable aspects of daily life. So, while the knights were riding into battle on their leather saddles and the merchants were buying their leather boots, you, the humble tanner, were in a pit of poop, a true hero of the unsung and the unsmellable. The executioner. Now, here is a job title that carries a certain weight, a certain theatricality, a certain je ne sais quoi dread. You're not just a person with a job, you're a symbol. You are the embodiment of justice, a person who holds the power of life and death in your hands. You're the star of the show, the main event, the person who gets to wear the cool hood and carry the big axe. Sounds pretty cool, right? The reality, however, is that you are a social pariah, a living, breathing personification of the very worst a society has to offer. While the public might flock to your performances in the town square, they will also cross the street to avoid you. You are feared, yes, but you are not respected. Your power is a necessary evil, a grim function of a society that demands public spectacle and brutal punishment. You live in a state of isolation, your only friends your tools and the ghosts of your former clients. You're not a person. You're an institution, a grim functionary who is called upon to do the dirty work that no one else wants to do. And the day-to-day? Well, it's not all glamorous public events. Your job involves everything from public floggings to hangings to beheadings, all of which are messy, unpleasant, and often go wrong in spectacular and gruesome ways. You're a master of your craft, yes, but your craft is a series of macabre, bloody rituals. You are the final, brutal word in a system that has little room for mercy. You are the executioner, a person whose career is a testament to the fact that some jobs, no matter how powerful they may seem, are a one-way ticket to a life of solitude and despair. The wattle and daub man, a job title so quaint, so harmless, it sounds like something a hobbit would do for a living. You are a builder, an artisan, a master of a craft that has been passed down for generations. You are the person who builds the houses that people live in, a true pillar of the community. But the truth, as always in the Middle Ages, is far less charming than the name suggests. Your job is to build homes using a disgusting, foul-smelling, and often toxic mixture of clay, straw, and animal dung. Your workday is a hands-on, full-body experience in filth. You start with the wattle, a simple lattice of woven wooden strips. This is the easy part. The daub, however, is a different story. You and your crew would mix a delightful concoction of mud, straw, and a generous portion of manure. This mixture, a kind of medieval cement, was what would fill in the gaps in the wattle, creating the walls of the house. You are a human mixer, stomping and squishing this foul-smelling goop with your bare feet, your every movement a testament to a complete lack of better options. The smell, of course, is a permanent part of your life, a pungent perfume that clings to your skin and clothes like a particularly persistent ghost. And the living conditions? Well, your job is to build houses, but you're probably not living in one of the good ones. You're a working-class hero, a person who provides shelter for the community, but you're also a person who is constantly covered in a mixture of mud and feces. Your hands are rough, your clothes are stained, and your reputation is, shall we say, a bit mucky. So, while the lord of the manor is sitting in his finely built stone castle, you, the humble wattle and daub man, are in a field, mixing dung with your bare feet, a true hero of the unsung and the unsmellable. And so, as the sun sets on our tour of the Middle Ages, we leave behind the putrid smells of the tanner's pit and the gong farmer's hole, the gruesome sights of the executioner's block, and the endless grime of the rat-catcher's rounds. We've seen the worst jobs, the most thankless tasks, and the people who performed them with a grim determination. But now the work is done, the day is over, and the stories are told. Let's take a deep breath. A nice, clean, modern breath of air that doesn't smell of stale urine and animal dung. Kick back, relax, and be glad that your biggest problem today is probably a slightly overcooked pizza or a slow internet connection. It's good to be a person of the present, where a bad job is a boring job, not a life-threatening one. Good night and sleep tight.